Johnny, so we were both there last night. Oleksandr Usyk, not bad, is he?
He's all right. Kid's all right. He's got a bit to learn. Um, is it prophetic? I think that's the word. I think the first fight, you have one chance to make a first impression, and that's what Daniel had that in the first time they boxed. And Daniel was some more successful in their first fight than he was in the second fight. It was like day and night, and Usyk's the kind of fighter that. And he's proved, look at the track record, Fury, AJ, anybody that he's been in with once, he beats them better the second time, regardless of how hard or how easy it is, he beats them better. Much better and easier this time around, even though he predicted a sixth round. And I was surprised because I've never seen that of Usyk predicting rounds. So I was surprised. And then what he did was the first round, the second round, he just tried to test what pace and what strength Danny was coming in at. And after that, it was just a matter of time. He was even catching Daniel to the jabs, I mean, straight, solid jabs, straight through the middle of it on the defense. He made sure he answered. He was the one that finished every argument. So if there was a left and a right, he made sure his was the last one that landed. And the knockdown itself was that big right. He threw a big right. Daniel threw a big left. They both came back with their own, and his was more accurate on the spot. Caught him on the temple, chopped him down. His big Ivan shot or whatever he calls it, Ivan shot. Um, and he just systematically broke him apart, made
We
it
all
much more easy.
we all thought it was going to be Dubois who was improved this time, not Usyk.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll always look at the opponent instead of looking at the fighter himself. Usyk is far too smart, clever than all the heavyweights around there. He's clever. So again, we can talk about the size of the shot and the punch. There's no point in being able to hit hard if there's nothing to hit. And Usyk understands that the art of boxing. It's the technique of boxing. And if you're a big guy, your strength and your height and your reach, your power will take you so far. But if you get in there with a smart guy that knows how to negate your strength, height, reach, and power, then you've got a problem. And Usyk is the one that he's apparent. He's the one that, you know what, boys, I know this inside out. I've been doing it since being a kid. And your size, your power, that makes no difference to me because you've not got the nance.
Are you surprised that he's still doing what he's doing at 38? Because he looked almost better than ever last night.
Yeah, well, listen. Before the fight, people asked what do you think? I said Daniel has a puncher's chance, and the reason why I give him a puncher's chance is because he's 10 years younger than Usyk. So Usyk 38 in January, I think he is. So at that age, you slow down, but you get smarter as well. You start to step around the ring instead of dance around the ring. You restrict your work. You make sure your work is everything works in your favor. You don't waste time. And Usyk did that. We didn't see how it get to the second half of the fight, so you don't know if that movement he did would affect him at almost 30, 37. But with the smarts, with the experience, with the skill he has, compared to the other heavyweights around, it's day and night. And last night was exactly that.
Were you, on the flip side, were you disappointed with Dubois? Dubois had promised chaos and said he was going to come out and bash everything like Chisora did and hit everything that moved. And, you know, Usyk's too smart for that. We know that. But are you surprised and were you slightly disappointed that Dubois didn't sort of go all in? Or did Usyk just gradually phase him out?
I wasn't surprised because, as we saw Fury saying the same thing. We saw AJ say the same thing, and all I kept saying is, once you box Usyk once, he's got your number, and that first time when you get in with him is your best chance. The question was asked to Daniel, why didn't you throw a jab? Why didn't you do this? And the reason why Daniel didn't do it because instinctively he remembers the traps and the tricks Usyk had him working, had him doing in the first fight. So that blessing of ignorance in the first fight is what you actually need in the second fight. But once you know, you know. So no matter how hard you train, no matter what you do, the blessing of ignorance is actually the key to success. So you've got to get him the first time, because if you don't, he's got your number, and you remember you're scarred. You're scarred by, I know what this guy can do. Oh, I'll not throw that shot because last time he caught me. I'm not throwing this shot because last time he did this. And so you start to second guess and stop doing things you did in the first fight.
I did wonder that, when Usyk landed some counters in the second and third round, Dubois was a bit jarred and a bit phased. And like you said, it makes you think if there weren't flashbacks to Poland a couple of years ago.
Yeah. You get triggered. You get triggered, and that's what you just look at the fights, and Usyk is a very clever guy. The one thing you can't buy, borrow, or pretend to have is experience and wisdom, and that is what Usyk has on all of them that are there. And so, no matter how big and strong you are, it'll get you so far. But when you come up against somebody that has that wisdom on you and the skills, you're not going to beat him. And Daniel wasn't ever going to beat Usyk on boxing IQ, ever. He'd beat him on strength, but then that's if he landed. But that's all he was going to. So you had to give him a puncher's chance because you knew he had that chance to get one solid shot off. And I think he caught Usyk in the first or second round and had Usyk go back to think and reset. But Usyk's got a really good way of like, right, set back. If something goes untoward, he'll get his mindset back on track again, boom, back in again. So he was the ultimate professional through and through before, during, and after the fight.
At what point did you know it was all over last night? As a
When
50,
it
as a
got to the
50,
third round,
yeah.
when it got to the third round, and then it started to be Usyk's. Daniel had to respond to everything Usyk did. And then the fourth round, it got more and more. And then Usyk was happy to stand there and step forward, box offensively instead of defensively on Daniel. And looking at the side of the two, if Usyk's coming towards you and he's happy to stand in front of you, box offensively in front of you, he smells blood. He knows I've got you. I've got you now. If you watch the first two rounds, look how they were different from the last three rounds. He was on the back foot, he's slipping, he's bobbing left to right, he's trying to sneak something out. And then once he got it, I've got you. I understand what I've got to do now. Then he's boxing on the front foot.
You obviously have a very different skill set to Dubois and all those big heavyweights. What would you have done to set up against Usyk?
The best way to deal with unorthodox fighters is to be an unorthodox fighter. How many people would Usyk be able to spar with that were just like him? None. And the more orthodox you are, no matter how strong you are, the easier it is. It's like picking fruit from a low-hanging tree. So that unorthodox, unpredictable style is what works with Usyk. But you've got to go in there with that belief, yeah, that it works. And Usyk's way of training is unorthodox. It's unpredictable. And so the guys that fight him don't know how to deal with him. But saying that, it's the same for Usyk. If he had to fight something like him, he's like, how am I going to figure this guy out? There's no pattern he's setting. Usyk doesn't set a pattern. He'll set a pace. He'll try and dummy and get you to drag and make mistakes, but he doesn't set a pattern. So you meet an orthodox with an orthodox, but you can't pretend to be an orthodox. You've got to work at it. There's got to be a method to the madness.
Hey, how good was it, by the way, after our second podcast when you were saying, "Oh, Usyk's looked at the Ingle way" and that sort of stuff? And I think, but I don't know. I wonder if people sort of rolled their eyes. But then you saw that clip where Usyk was hanging out with Naz at ringside one fight, and he's like, "I used to watch you guys. I used to watch you guys in Sheffield."
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You recognize it. And he said his trainers used to, tell him and Lomachenko off for copying that style. And I smiled. I thought, you know what, Brendan, as in Brendan Ingram, my trainer, I thought, you actually don't know how inspirational and how much of an impression you left on fighters that actually look and think, that, I get that. So I smile when I see Usyk fighting, and then people are like, give you shits in regards to when you talk about Usyk. I get it. I get what he's doing. I get where he's coming from. I get what angle he's coming from. And Naz was the ultimate example of Brendan's unorthodox training methods. And look at what he achieved. So when you see somebody come along like an Usyk, you think, I've seen this before. I know the blueprint. I know what you're doing. I know what, and so when he actually confirmed it and said, "Yeah, where we used to watch that," he said it all. The Brendan Ingle style of fighting is is so underrated, but it's so successful
What
that
so
people never give it credit.
what have the Ukrainians added to it? Why is it slightly different? Because it is different. There's versions of it. You can see the transition, but what have they changed with it?
It's different because the Brendan Ingle style of fighting was defensive. The Ukrainian style is offensive. And the reason why Naz was so successful is because his style was not just defensive, but it was more offensive, that Brendan Ingle style. And that's why. And so once that final bit of ingredient there, make that Brendan Ingle style offensively successful, it's unbeatable. And that's why the Ukrainians have given it offensive style, that style to say, right, I'm from foot. I'm going to be positively aggressive with this instead of being defensively with this. So and that's it. That's why Naz shot that up there because he's like, right, I'm going to be offensive with this, and this is going to work for me. Look what he achieved. Then you look at Lomachenko, you look at Usyk, you look at what they achieved with a style that I actually get. You get it.
How good is Usyk in terms of history? Holmes, Ali, Marciano, Lewis, Johnson. Is he up there?
You've got to put him up there. The reason being is because all these guys beat what was around at the time, and they were the top of the tree. So regardless of what is around at the time, and we can all compare, would he beat him? Would he beat him? He has beat everybody that's around at the time, all the best fighters. So you've got to give him that respect where respect is due, like they did Ali, like Lennox Lewis, like all these guys at the time that you never really appreciated and gave them the nod for doing what they did until they're done. And it's the same with Usyk. There's nobody. He's like you'd look at a roadmap of his trail of destruction here of British-based fighters, and it's like watching Lego. All the Legos falling down, and he stood there looking behind him at everybody that's behind him. And so you've got to give him that. And he's not done it. He's done it devastatingly. He's not doing it by the skin of his teeth. He's done it devastatingly, but against guys that you've revered as like, my goodness, this guy's unbelievable. Now I know next they're going to start shouting about Moses Tamu. I personally think Moses Tamu. It's too early for Moses Tamu to get him with Usyk because Usyk's 38 in January. So you've got to hope the wheels are going to fall off at some point. Don't do it yet. Don't get greedy. Moses Tom was potentially a good potential champion, potentially, but and an heir apparent. But don't do it yet. Timing is everything. But you know what, Frank Warren, timing's always been the one thing seems to get right. I'd be careful. I'd be
So
careful with that.
what's the fight then? I mean, because we've been talking about people have been talking about Fury fighting Joshua next week, but now next year, but now Fury wants to get back in with Usyk, and Parker was in there making his claim, and I think Parker's the most deserving. But what fight happens? Because Usyk told me last week, he had two more, Dubois and one more. So if he rounds out his career, who's it against?
I wouldn't make it Tyson Fury. He's beaten Tyson Fury fair and square twice. It doesn't matter how much Tyson Fury says he won it. It doesn't. He lost. And you've got to say that because I think Tyson Fury's been a negotiation tool in regards to I've retired him out unless I fight him again. Do what you're doing. Definitely want to make it Anthony Joshua. But unfortunately for Usyk, if he wants to fill out Wembley Stadium, it has to be one of those two in the corner. Last night wasn't full. I thought it was very ambitious of Frank Warren putting the fight on him in at Wembley Stadium, but because we get lost in it because if you're in boxing, you think the whole world's into boxing, so it's a big fight. But in the grand schemes of things, it wasn't. There was loads of seats that were places that were empty in there, so it's ambitious. If you want to fill out Wembley Stadium, you need characters like Tyson Fury. You need characters like Anthony Joshua if you want to fill out the stadium. Deservedly, do they deserve a shot? No, they don't. Because you make the comparison, you look at what he did to Daniel Dubois and what Daniel Dubois did to Anthony Joshua. So he's out. You look at he's beat Usyk, he beat Fury back to back. So he's out. So deservedly, you'd have to look at Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker, he's making hay while the sun shines. So he's thinking, well, give me a crack, let me have a go. Um, and so deservedly. So you'd look at that. The young guns coming through. There are some good potential young guns coming through, but at this moment in time, Oleksandr Usyk is far too smart, sharp, lively for them, and I would actually let him walk away. Let him walk away. Let him fight Joseph Parker. Let him because Usyk's getting paid a hell of a lot of money. So therefore, he's going to take a massive drop in wages to fight somebody that's not generating that kind of money. No, because this is shop business. So the business side of it, it doesn't match. It doesn't work. It won't generate against the Tarmo. It won't generate that. So he's got to go for what's out there, the biggest out there. Because if you hang about long enough, eventually time's going to catch up on you. And he's not stupid. He's a very clever, well thought guy. So he's going to do what's best for him.
But do you know who'd fill it out? Jake Paul.
Yeah, Jake Paul would fill it out. But then, no matter who you put him in with, no, well, yeah, it does. It matter who you put him in with. You'd have to put him in with somebody like he's going to get absolutely slaughtered, like an AJ.
Mm.
Like something. So if he's shouting out AJ, but that the AJ situation of Jake Paul ain't gonna happen. That's all talk. It's all hot air. And AJ and Jake Paul is brilliant at PR because if you mention his name in the same line as him fighting AJ, you all of a sudden you're talking about Jake Paul in interviews like this. Jake Paul's no fool. As I can remember Eubank Jr. and Senior was talking about his son fighting Triple G when he first turned pro. Great PR, never happened, but he started putting his son up there in that conversation. So Jake Paul, it would because, but it won't happen. So again, to me, I think you're looking at the heavyweight landscape. We are now seeing the change of the heavyweight landscape, and and over this next year, that top tier, as in Usyk, will go, and so the young guns coming through and that have now got to jostle for their position, jostle to establish I'm top dog. So it's just looking back, looking at our game from afar, thinking, right, I want to see how the dice fall. And to me, it's exciting, it's intriguing.
Hey, you said about the qualities of Usyk earlier. Did you see the post-fight comments afterwards? He was at the post-fight presser where he talked about discipline and motivation. Definitely one for the people who train. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
So,
I did, and that's what I'm saying. That this is why, if you're an honest pro and you're there for the game, not the fame, and you do your job, you do the job, you expect results. If it not doesn't come the first time, it'll come the second time. If it doesn't come the second time, it'll go the third time. You've got a lot of these young fighters that go to the gym to train for a fight. They fight, they disappear for 6, 7 weeks on holiday or do whatever they do, and then they come back again. That's not lifestyle. That's not the game. That means you're playing for the fame. At Usyk's discipline at 38 years old, the stage is that he's proving to you the results. You do it this way, you'll get the results eventually. I know that. I understand that. And I thought, I totally get where he's coming from. And for these young guns coming through, I spoke to, oh God, what's his name? The heavyweight, just lost to Dave,
oh, Johnny Fisher.
oh God, Johnny Fisher. I spoke to Johnny Fisher last night before the fight. And I said, Johnny, listen to me. I said, you've lost 2 fights on the bounce. Right now, you're learning, and it just wasn't your time. Now, if you listen to everybody and everything that's said around you, you're going to walk away from the game. Your hunger, your appetite will be suppressed. You think, this ain't for me. And the way you're talking to me now tells me you understand this is part of experience you need to get wisdom. So you've got been turned over been turned over twice. So now you've got to think, right, what do I want? What did I do wrong? What have I got to change? How can I fix it? Now, if you don't think there's anything to fix, anything to change, and you don't see you did anything wrong, you might as well walk away. But you've got to be strong enough to ignore everything that's out there that telling you should do this, you should do that, because all of a sudden everybody's Angelo Dundee, and they know better than you, and they say you should be X, Y, Z. So therefore, you think, right, learn from the loss, learn how you're going to fix it, and if it can be fixed, you know what you're capable of doing. I do believe you'll get to British title level at least, and that's being realistic. I didn't say I think you'll be a world champion. I do believe he could get to British title level. But it's a case of commitment, want, and desire. A lot of these youngsters, unfortunately, it might be because of that media giant that's in the corner of the living room, the TV. You think I've got to be unbeaten. I've got to set this precedent of being this kind of fighter, so I'll be a champion. Losing doesn't mean you're not going to be a champion. Getting turned over doesn't mean you're not going to be a champion. Look at Hamza Sheeraz. You know, he boxed a couple of fights ago, he draw? I think he drew.
Carlos
And then,
Adames the draw, yeah.
yeah, and in the last fight against Vranga, you think, wow. You know, so he's thinking, you know what? I've got to ignore the naysayers. I've got to not ignore the negativity around me. I've got to learn from the loss and make myself a better fighter. Oleksandr Usyk is that kind of fighter to think, if I do the work and keep doing the work, I expect the results. And if I don't get it the first time, I'll get it the second time. If that doesn't set a lesson, an example for young fighters coming through, they shouldn't be fighting. They're in the wrong game.
Yeah, because just for context, he was asked what his motivation is for carrying on. He says, I don't need motivation. I've got discipline. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. If you could match him up with anyone to finish up, who would you match him with for his last fight?
You broke up. So say that again.
If you could match him up with anyone for his last fight, who would you match him up with?
Wow. With deservedly Joseph Parker.
Yeah. Johnny, that's fair, mate. Look, I know we're in and out of signal a little bit, so I'll leave you to it. But thanks for making the time to speak to me, Johnny. I'll leave you to it because we're breaking in and out. But thanks, mate.
God bless. Take care.
Cheers,
Keep
Johnny.
the
Bye,
training
mate.
up.
Will do. Bye, mate. Bye bye.